Welcome to another expert interview. And this is one of the things I love doing. I love bringing other experts in the field of wellness and self-care to pour in some of their tips and wisdom of how we can live a vibrant life. And certainly Kathy can do that. So I love talking about of giving many different options for people to have lots and lots of tools, because it's not one thing that helps you to live a vibrant life. And it doesn't mean that you get on a path of living a vibrant life and it all goes smooth downhill. There's, always opportunities, growth opportunities, right? With bumps on the road and so forth. So wherever we are in our life, I think this is important to keep adding on more and more skills and tools and insight. And so it's my pleasure to welcome you to this chapter, Kathy.
Basel. I'm excited.
Yes,
you share so much passion to just help people live their most vibrant life.
That's awesome. So Kathy is a transformational life coach. She works with women who are over 50 that are looking to put more vibrancy, more energy, right, into their not, I don't want to say their last chapter, but the next chapter, from 50s and on. And so I loved when we had this talk, and I found out that you work with the emotion code. Because there's some synergy there, because I know the founder of the emotion code is a chiropractor, and he also works with the magnetic technologies, the Niken technologies that I have been so passionate and involved with for 25 years now. So Kathy, start out and tell us, what led you from where you were before this to doing this work? Because I think there's always a story that kind of helps to frame this for you.
Yeah. And talking about the health journey. So I got inspired to become first a holistic health coach, because I saw my mom have a stroke and go into the medical world, and they were looking at little bits and pieces of a body. And all the while I'm wondering, like, is anybody quarterbacking this thing? Because I recognized as her body was deteriorating, the voice inside kept saying her soul is dying. And so I first went into holistic health and recognizing that self-love is the core of it all. It's so much, our body is a reflection of the thoughts and feelings and everything. Oftentimes when we think about health, people think, diet and exercise and those kinds of things, which are an element of that. But truly the behaviors that lead to that are really the underlying theme under that is the energetic to it. So the magnetics that you use, and the going in and cleaning out some of the emotional garbage we picked up before we even knew that it was destructive for us. It's just not supportive. And 95% of that is a tickies in our subconscious that are driving the show we're not even aware of. So especially by the time we get, midlife 50s and 60s, we've got lots of life to live, but we need to just take the garbage out. And so that's what I love about the emotion code. It's quick, simple. It's something you can learn to do yourself, and it's profound when you do work with a practitioner. So it's kind of a little win-win on both ways.
So, and I hear this oftentimes, it's your own personal story, or somebody that you really love, and they are in a situation where you can't sit there and watch them suffer and feel helpless. You want to figure out, how can I help? And I mean, I think that's the essence too of self-care. Self-care is definitely, it starts inner. I totally resonate with what you're saying about self-love, and how we treat ourselves and talk to ourselves is so, so important. And it's great that you felt empowered to step in. So tell us a little bit more about the emotion code. What is it really?
Yeah. And again, what drove me to continue looking for answers is that oftentimes we know what we need to do, but we're not doing it. And so you've got to wonder what the motivation is that's driving the lack of action. And oftentimes I call it improper prior programming. And, it's so cool living at these days, because there's so many amazing technologies like the magnetic stuff, technologies that you work with, but also this energy work that comes on, because the emotions, the thoughts, emotions, those are really electromagnetic impulses running through our body that have been pinging in there for years. And so this is a simple process that you can do in minutes. Highly recommend if you're called to explore it. Bradley Nelson is the fellow who wrote the book, the Emotion Code, and he's generously given it out to the world. The whole process is in the book, and it's simple to do, but it's critical because, and it's fascinating right now. So when I do sessions with people, especially women, it comes down to three primary blocks, if you will. The first is I'm not lovable. Second is I'm not worthy. And, it's kind of that I'm not enough thing. Like I'm not smart enough, old enough, young enough, like all these enoughnesses, and I'm not deserving. And these are soul level conversations where we're blocking ourselves from the goodness that from allowing us to live, physically vibrant, but truly to find our purpose. And when we align with that, that's what brings us fully alive. But when you're carrying old baggage that we picked up in those childhood days of I'm not worthy or I'm not enough to have that, you're never, there's not going to be enough outward action to compensate for that kind of like anchor holding you back. Yeah. And so it's liberating when you can get to the core of this. Just for instance, I had a woman who had been adopted and she struggled for years. She was 62 and came into a group that I run, and we cleared the feeling that she was always struggling to prove that she belonged or that she was lovable. And it was exhausting. She was flatlined at 62, had lots of things she wanted to do, but it was exhausting to her, and repeating cycles. If we don't clear up the pattern, it'll just keep repeating. For me personally, my pattern, a crummy dad story. And so trust was an issue. And so 100% of the time, years ago, I would attract guys that cheated like over and over again. So if you're finding that kind of repetitive cycle, like, whoa, stop, drop, and roll, that old saying, like stop what you're doing, drop into your heart space and roll that, roll into that, explore what that is, and roll into what's the belief that you need to have so that you can be the person that's going to be the lovable, person that attracts the trustworthy mates that you're looking for.
So what I'm hearing is it's a lot about raising awareness, which is, I think, is where it always has to start. And then is it a physical kind of a thing that you're doing? Is it more of a hypnosis? Tell me a little bit more. Tell us all about a little bit more.
Yeah. And so you probably won't be able to really see this, but you can simply Google this, or it's in the book, the Emotion Code chart. And it's so cool because it boils it down to 60 of the most prominent emotional blocks that we have. And then the bodies are amazing. So we can do the muscle testing. You can do simple techniques. You may have talked about the sway technique before, but the body knows what it needs to heal. And so when we ask questions, like I have a really great relationship with my body, like we can have conversations, but you can do a simple test, and it's kind of fun. You can do it on anything, a yes or no question of the body. The body will remain strong when the answer is a yes. The body goes weak when it's a no or something that's not true for you. So some people may have experienced this at a chiropractor's office when you go in and they might be doing the arm test technique. When I'm working with people, I'm doing a finger technique because I'm doing it remotely. And that's kind of it's a beautiful thing, but you can also test for yourself. And even if you're not proficient quite yet, it's super simple to learn the muscle technique. The simplest one out there is the sway test. So you could take something like, it's fun. Take something like sugar or a chicken, body, do you want chicken tonight? And hold it up, ask a yes or no question. And if your body sways forward, that's generally a yes. And if it sways backwards, that's generally a no. And you can do a baseline right at the beginning, body, show me a yes. And it'll show you. Some people are opposite, and there's a small percentage of the population that's opposite. But honestly, we pick up things like heart walls. About 93% of the people are walking around with a heart wall where we are just not open to being vulnerable. Keeps us from the intimacy that we're yearning for right now, especially after the pandemic, all the uncertainty, all the division out there. We create these heart walls to protect our hearts, yet it's keeping the good out at the same time. And
Mhm.
so what a technique like this allows us to do, we can identify what the emotion is against this chart, do the muscle testing, and then a simple release. And this is why Dr. Nelson is a Nikan guy, because we use a simple magnet running across the governing meridian with a release statement. And you can use whatever release. He's got a process in here. I say with love and intention, we release the trapped emotion of, let's say, abandonment and everything it represents through all time and space, all dimensions and all bodies. You release it 3 times, but it gets very exciting because you can actually go in muscle test, like when was the first time this got lodged? And 99.9% of the time, it's going to be those formative childhood days when our brain is still in a theta state. We're soaking up everything that's going on, whatever dynamic you had going in the home, you're picking up that narrative that drives you for an entire lifetime, unless you go back with a technique like this and clean it up.
So I have to say, if I was to listen in with a skeptic's ear, and some people are this is going to be the first time they're going to be like, what? And what I know about that is that even though it sounds a little out there, this is not something your medical doctor is going to talk to you about. What I believe with all my heart is that thoughts are things. Thoughts have energy. And if you don't believe it, try out, you can practice this with having a particular thought, and then see the fact that the emotion that is associated with that thought creates an energy around it. And so we have so much more of we're so much more aware, and there's so much more energy that exists outside of what we think is contained even within our bodies.
Yeah.
But our
And
bodies
just like
store emotions, and they store them from a very young age. And so this, I think it's a very exciting, interesting place to go for people that are feeling stuck, because we often get to this point, and the awareness that we're even stuck to begin with. It's like if you keep doing the same thing and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, or you feel like you've kind of given up on some of the goals that you set at a younger age, or you're just you're not having as much, not having as much fun, you're not experiencing as much joy, then these are reasons to really look at this. It's such a mind-body connection,
Yeah, and it just makes sense. I mean, we brush our teeth every day. It's almost like a mental hygiene kind of thing. Of course, we're going to be picking up thoughts and emotions that aren't supportive of us. And again, we're not aware of it because 95% of them are lurking in the subconscious, where we can't even find them ourselves. So for the skeptics, I like how you brought that up. And that's what I love about this, because it's very sequential. Like you'll see, it'll make sense when you play with it. And that's all I would say is suspend your disbelief long enough to play with this, and it'll be uncanny, the things that come up. And I mean, just to speak to the biology of what happens, like we are energetic beings. We are both electrical and magnetic. And there's great science like heart math and things like that are putting science around some of the stuff that we've known to be true. Right. And it's a great place to recognize that, but we can measure that. Like when people go in for an EKG, that's electrical measurement that they're doing. That's right. So we've got a field around us that if we can clear that up, it allows us to, just like you said, raise the glass ceiling on how much joy and abundance you're receiving in your life, because those little niggling thoughts or doubts, self-doubts, the unworthiness, the humiliations or shames of the past are still just limiting what you're capable of experiencing today.
Yeah, thanks. That's a lot. You've shared a lot. And I think, if I can just kind of wrap this up with one of the things that I think is so important to do is to raise that awareness so that you pay attention to how you're feeling. And, if you're not feeling good, if you feel like there's some tension in your body, there's some worry, some stress, whatever you want to call it, anxiety, to pay attention, to quiet
if people
enough.
Are triggering you too,
right?
Family members usually.
Right. Well, that's the point, is that I want to say is to quiet down enough to track what it is. I think we tend to ignore and just gloss over and bury, swallow, these feelings of anxiety or fear or being upset or feeling unworthy. And it's so important. The first big step is to make space to say that's important. I want to know where that's coming from, because that's how we're going to start unraveling and shifting from a place of this constant monkey mind to having that ability to nurture ourselves.
Yeah. So rather than living your life in reaction to what's being triggered, or by living on default, you get to become the creator of your life and choose how you want to feel and what you want to experience next.
Absolutely.
And the heart space is open to receive it all.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for this really juicy conversation, because I think it's so important that it's a part of our well-being. It's a huge part of our well-being. And without it, I think we can go through life not ever really getting to that full out living life fully and really experiencing all the joy that is available for us. So again, thank you so much. And your information will be in the notes so that somebody knows how to contact you, get more information.
Keep doing the beautiful work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you. You too.